I'm going to call to order this public hearing at the Champaign County Board. It's Tuesday, April 26, 2011. The time is 7:01. Roll call, please.
Court. Esri.
Here.
Holderfield.
Here.
James.
Here.
Jay.
Here.
Jones. Kurtz.
Here.
Langenheim.
Here.
McGinty.
Here.
Michaels.
Here.
Mosier.
Here.
Nudo.
Here.
O'Connor.
Here.
Petrie.
Here.
Quisenberry.
Here.
Richards. Rosales.
Here.
Sapp.
Here.
Schrader.
Yes.
Alex.
Here.
Ammons. Anderson.
Here.
Benzel. Berkson.
Here.
Betts.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
And Weibel.
Here, we have a quorum. Again, I want to point out that Mr. Benzel and Ms. Ammons indicated to me earlier they would not be able to make this meeting. Would the clerk read the notice of the meeting, please?
Notice is hereby given that the Champaign County Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, April 26, 2011, 7 o'clock p.m. in the Lyle Shields Meeting Room, Brookings Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, to receive public comment on the issue of reapportionment of the county for the election of the county board.
Move adoption.
Move to approve by Mr. Betts, second by Mr. James. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Seek approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James, second by Mr. Kurtz. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next we seek public comment on reapportionment of the county for election of county board. Okay, we have a number of you filled out these public participation forms. Now, for this public hearing, you don't have to. I don't know if you plan to speak for the public hearing here or for the study session. You can speak at both if you want to. So you can just come up here and please state your name and address and speak. Who's up first? Come on up. I'll take your slip of paper if you want to give it to me.
Oh, okay. Okay, my name is Philip Holt. I live at 401A County Road 2425N in Mahomet, Illinois. Okay, I saw the article in the paper about the reapportionment, and so it started me thinking about some of the problems that I've seen with the board structure over the years from my perspective. And I see three problems. I could never understand why there are 3 representatives per district. When I had concerns about county issues, I wanted to talk to my representative, but I have 3. So what am I supposed to do? Do I just call one? Do I have to call all 3? Do I try to call a meeting of all 3 together? And so this redundancy kind of creates a wall between me and my representatives. I'd rather just talk to one. And so when I had problems, this kind of wall just kind of kept me from going ahead and talking to my representatives. And I've talked with others that have said the same thing, that it kind of causes that kind of same reason. Now there's talk of reconfiguring the board into 11 districts with 2 members each for 22 total board members. So that gives an even number, so there could be problems with tie votes. Even though there are 2 representatives, would be better than having 3, there's still that redundancy problem, and it'd be better to have just 1 per district. Now the board is considering redistricting maps, and I read in the News Gazette about the problems with Urbana getting cut up into some of the outlying districts. To me, there's one simple solution to all 3 problems. Let us have 21 or 23 districts with 1 board member each. So I'll have my 1 representative, and each board member will be closer to each of their constituents. There will also be an odd number on the board and no tie-breaking problems. And so then Urbana isn't cut up into unsensible districts and can have representatives of their own. This, I think, will bring county governance closer to the people. Okay, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Who's next? Again, you may talk about any aspect of the reapportionment. We may actually talk about the map that's being, will be proposed next week, the map revised 1E. Go ahead, sir.
In the way of an introduction, I'm Bill Ackerman, 50-plus year resident of Champaign County, graduated from Champaign High School, Wesleyan University, MBA from Mississippi State, and I'm a farmer, retired naval officer, current president of the Orpheum Children's Science Museum, and just finished time as chair of the Convention and Visitors Bureau and a current commissioner of the Finney Branch Drainage District. Back in March of this year, I came to this body to plead for the commission that it was established and the process be used to redistrict and for them to try their darndest, actually I said damnedest, to come together and draw up a map that we can all be proud of, elected folks, citizens alike. I applied for that reapportionment commission but was not selected. So where are we? We have a map that's come out. Perfect? No. But it came out of the process that was established and approved by this board, by the county board. If this map is voted up, we're done. If it's not, then we go back and try again. That's what the process calls for. I think that it's important that the board vote on a map that is a product of the commission and not one that is submitted by either party or an outside interest. I understand this is groundbreaking work and the effort is tough. I understand the political pressures that this effort is causing. I understand what the right thing is to do. I understand the precedent that this would set. And I know eyes are watching from both the local arena and the national level. But I also know what the right thing is to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Dorothy Newman. I live almost in downtown Urbana. I've been a citizen of Champaign-Urbana for more than 50 years. So I've seen the board when it operates well and when it didn't operate so very well. And I think the current board has operated quite well. It's operating well when board members are voting issues rather than party. And I saw this on Olympian Drive. I thought some Republicans voted for it, some Democrats voted against it, and vice versa. And that means to me that the board is operating the way that it should. But I'm very concerned about the current map. We were supposed to be very innovative in having a redistricting commission, the only one in Illinois, and one of very few in the United States. But the results to me were very, very disappointing. It looked to me as if the only people that voted for the map that's before you were very, very partisan. And that was very disappointing. So I'm going to tell you the reasons why I'm very disappointed in that map. I think the most egregious example is District 3, which loops up north of Windsor Road into Champaign. And there weren't any crossroads that I could see on the map, but it looks like it goes south of Savoy and maybe even further. It wraps around Champaign and Urbana. When I remember my high school history picture of gerrymandering, it really wasn't as bad as that particular district. The other one is the uneven distribution of population, with some districts being as high as almost 10%, over 9% larger than the other, which means there's about 500 people who have less representation in one district than in another. I, as a precinct committee person, am very disappointed to see 16 precincts split, where people say, how come we vote at the same polling place and you're voting for these candidates and I'm voting for the others? This map needs to be rejected and a fairer map needs to be approved. I personally would like to see the board as a committee of the whole take on this job. You know the old thing about doing the same thing in the same way and expecting different results. That's how I feel about the redistricting commission. Thank you.
Mr. Carter, please. Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, you're speaking too loud.
I'm sorry.
Other members of the public wish to speak at this time.
Good evening. My name's Jerry Watson, and I'm representing Farm Bureau as their president right now. And I would like to ask the board to vote in support of the map that's been presented. From the beginning, when you put this commission together, we have been supportive of this commission, the process. This commission was actually approved by the board, and the board chair actually selected the individuals on it. The board basically gave the parameters for what the map needed to say, how they were to work and form the map. The commission has done that. I've attended almost all of the meetings, and I would have to say it was a very fair, very open, very transparent process. And my feeling is that the commission has selected its map. Out of the 24, 25 maps that they looked at, all the maps had issues, no question. But the point is, the commission did their task, did what you guys have asked them to do, and really my feeling is that you need to honor their work and what they have done as a commission. And I feel the tough task, the commissioners all worked hard on it, and I feel they worked very fairly, and that this map should be presented to the board, and I hope for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Does somebody else wish to speak on this issue at this time? Again, this does not negate your ability to speak later on at the public participation during the study session. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Lynn Wharfe. I live where my father, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather lived, down between Tolono and Posotum. I've been a farmer for 49 years now, and I've been a student of county government for most of that time. First, I would like to thank each one of you for your service. I pay attention to what you do, and I appreciate what you do. I've been involved in a number of things over my years here in Champaign County, and as a result, I've come to study and understand that in the processing, board work kind of falls into three major categories. The first area is fiduciary, and I respect what you folks have done in fiduciary ways. The second area I think about is structural or strategic, and in my lifetime, there have been few changes in the county board in Champaign County as far as structure is concerned. And the third area is something that is pretty unusual, actually, and that's creative. And what you folks have been doing involves being creative and changing the structure. So my compliments to you all for your willingness to step forward and do the hard work that's necessary to challenge those kinds of things. I've looked at all of the maps. I've followed the discussions here in this room as the pros and cons of each map was discussed. I think each map received fair consideration, pros and cons, and I appreciate that. There was very intense discussion at some times, and I appreciate that. I think that's how better government happens, when there is that kind of discussion. but remaining respectful for one another and different points of view. I support the map because I support the process that you folks adopted. I think the commissioners did a very conscientious job. They really put themselves into studying the maps and talking about the pros and cons. And there were pros and cons for every one of the maps. Whatever map you all decide upon, there will be pros and cons about that map too. So I think the process has been really good. And as a result, I support the adoption of the map. One thing I learned that I didn't realize was that often after a reapportionment, the county board is within its power to change the precincts. And I think that will help modify some of the issues that you are rightfully concerned about. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak at this time?
Good evening. My name is Kent Krukowit. I live in rural Homer. First, I'd like to commend all of you, this board, for its leadership and desire to improve the transparency of local government by passing a resolution that set up the redistricting commission to draw new county district map. A step I believe no other county in the state has done, and probably even the nation. You have chosen good government over partisan politics. The commission, appointed by the board chair, made up of mostly non-political residents of the county, took the work very seriously and submitted a map for your review. I attended some of these meetings, and this commission worked very hard to bring to you a good and fair map. The commission openly debated the pros and cons of these many maps they looked at, but one map did rise to the top. I support the commission's work and the map that they have chosen, map 1E. The process did work. Now it's up to you as county board members to review and critique the map. The map meets all the criteria set forth by the resolution passed by this body a few months ago. Map 1E was chosen by the commission on merit, not politics, a standard never before achieved. It would be a shame to reject a map chosen by open debate by a nonpartisan commission in favor of a map drawn by politicians behind closed doors. Therefore, as you look at this map, do not let politics and personal gain stand in the way of making an honest evaluation of the map and the process that brought it before you tonight. The process has worked. The map meets the standards set by the resolution creating the commission, and the map should be approved. You have earned the respect of your constituency by resolving to include an open and transparent process to draw a new county district map. And we've come too far to reject the work that's been done. However, you could still decide not to go on with this process. And if you should decide to reject the process and the commission's work and the nonpartisan redistricting commission's work, unfortunately, you'll end up looking more like Springfield, dishonest and self-serving, losing the respect you had earned when the resolution was first passed a few months ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another speaker who wishes to speak at this time? Anybody else?
I'm Bob Ilias. I live at 810 South Elm. I've worked with image processing, maps, that sort of thing for 30-some years. I'm a computer programmer by profession. I think that the plan to set up this independent commission was a very good plan, and I'm surprised at the problems that have shown up in the maps. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the statistical standards that were used to select the maps. One of the difficulties is, as has become apparent, this sort of thing is not subtle science. It's something very new. I can, and is perhaps not quite yet up to the task of doing what we're trying to do. I can take as an example the compactness estimate that is used. I should say that this is an estimate of compactness. It is not compactness, and this is an important difference. It's one of several dozen different estimates of compactness that are being experimented with right now. The assumption of the current estimate is that a circle is the optimum shape. This makes a certain amount of sense. A circle has the least perimeter for its area, and so in that sense it's ultimately compact. The problem arises when you try to apply circular compactness to a political map, which is not circular. If you have an optimal circular district in your map, the others can't be circular in general because there would be spaces between them. If you decide to make one of the other ones more optimal, you have to make, in general, one of some other part of the map less optimal. And what happens when you start adjusting things is you get a very broad maximum. That is to say, you can make all kinds of fine adjustments, and they have almost no effect on the map in terms of how compact the typical district is. What this broad maximum means in terms of selecting the best map is that there are an enormous number of different maps that meet this criterion. The process that has been followed is underspecified, and so you get all kinds of maps coming out of it, which should be a red flag. You get some that are clearly gerrymandered. You get some that look a lot better. What I would propose is that the commission produce several maps, that if there are advocates of a particular map, several advocates of a particular map in the commission, that along with other like maps should be brought to the full county board for consideration and for a vote. I also suggest that you include some submitted maps that were arrived at outside of the commission, but that you actually run them through the statistical process that you're using to evaluate the maps that you are currently looking at, and see if they actually are better or if they are worse by your own standards. I suspect that some of them may be better, so I really think, considering the dubious sorts of maps that have been showing up, that it's worth looking at several maps and going through a process somewhat like what I described. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak at this time? Next chance, last chance. Okay, let's close public comment, and we'll adjourn this public hearing.